Hi everybody, this is Alchemist 2 and I wish you all a happy Mother's Day. I recently watched probably one of the worst films ever created. It was done by a indie film company I'd never heard of. Actually, a couple of indie film companies I had never even uh, read about or heard anything of, and you would think that a movie with Andy Griffith and the lady who played Raymond's mom from Everybody Loves Raymond would be really, really good and funny. And it wasn't. It was just horrendous from start to finish. And we didn't even watch it all the way through, Dad and I. We were just sitting there cringing. And I was thinking to myself, I could be reading a book and edifying myself, but no. But we stopped it after one scene that just shouldn't have been there at all. It reminded me of Yes Man, which was one thing that almost turned me off about that film in and of itself because it just was unnecessary. It's basically the same scene and involves fellatio. Need I say more? Um, but the whole thing is just one cliche after another, and I was sitting there praying, please wreck the cliche bus, for God's sake, for the love of Mike. But it just never happened. And as far as movies are concerned, I would not recommend watching Play the Game, that's what it's called, because it just isn't, it's not good at all, and it's poorly written, and the actors and actresses are not believable. Plus, they have taken plots from other movies and films. For instance, they had a line from The Graduate. There was a plot that came from a show that Ray Romano was in. I think it's called Manhood or something like that. Basically, the father runs the auto dealership and the son works under his dad. I thought that was done in that very show, and you stole that idea. You morons. And I was sitting there and I could feel my blood pressure rising. I hardly ever get angry at anything, but it just was utterly grueling and just torture to sit through. And I just had to shake my head in disgust at the whole thing. And after that one scene with Edna and Joe and the whole thing, well, they don't go into great detail. I mean, you know what's going on because you only see Joe's expression and I'm getting close, that whole thing. I thought, oi, but it's just, it's just ridiculous. It's the most inane, asinine tripe I have laid my eyes on, and I would have to say this is the worst film ever developed. And if you want to bash yourself, kick yourself, then go ahead and rent this video. If you have an enemy in your life that you don't necessarily like, force them to watch this film and say, you will do what I want. And no, that would be terrible. I could just envision a scenario here of somebody who has been captured and them making them watch this particular piece of crap, and in return for getting all their information from them. Why am I thinking Nazi Germany? I shouldn't do that. But anyway, it's just one of those things that if you have if you have the wherewithal and the common sense to avoid this film, by all means do, because it is just awful. It's worse than When in Rome. It is that bad, and it is horrible. even though Andy Griffith is in it, and I'm a huge fan of Andy Griffith, have been ever since I was little. Um, Thanks to the input of my parents and growing up with the show and coming to know the characters, and it's a little bit of hometown history for me because Mayberry was actually based in a town. I forget which town in Indiana, but if you go, there's a Mayberry Cafe. I can't remember where it is, but I've been there and they have really good food. So that's a little bit beside the point, but I really felt sorry for Andy Griffith because his character, his whole persona, he has so much dignity, and seeing him in a role like this, it made me want to puke. It was just, oh, sorry, I don't know what it is about today. It must be allergens or something. Excuse me. But it was just the worst film ever made. So, by all means, avoid, avoid, avoid. Take my word for it. And just run as fast as you can if you see this in your local uh, movie store, if you still have those around, or if you see this on Redbox or Netflix. Just don't bother watching it, and you'll be all happier that you did. That's all I can say about Play the Game because it's just awful.